Okay, I'm back, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to use Spark Submit. So a few of you guys have asked me to do this, and yeah, so this is pretty much what I'm going to do, and hopefully I don't drag this on too long. I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible, because I do tend to do really long tutorials, and I think long tutorials can be slightly off-putting. So let's keep this brief, and then anything else to do with the Spark Submit I'll show you in later tutorials. And yeah, so let's have a quick summary of Spark Submit. So what is it? So what it does, it allows you to deploy your applications. So as you've seen me do it, I've deployed my applications just pretty much using Python, using the Python interpreter, for Python code, and it pretty much works that way. But then you can also use what is called Spark Submit, and typically you might use that if you're deploying code over a cluster or doing it remotely, and you want to pretty much send some commands to that cluster or to that server to do some Spark operations. So so really you should have that working, and I'll show you how I get my Spark Submit working. And I'm just going to do a quick Spark Submit help. Let's just increase that a bit, shall we? Okay, good. All right, so Spark Submit help, space and 2 flags. And if I run that, then you should see the same thing which I'm seeing. And what this really is telling you is that you have it configured, and you can run Spark Submit anywhere in your terminal. So you don't actually have to change directory into the Spark Submit folder. So where is the Spark Submit kept? So let's go into our directory, and remember where we installed it. We installed it user local, and then we created this folder called Spark, and within Spark we have all of our source code. And so as you can see, I've got various versions. So previously I was working with 2.7, and the latest one I'm working with is 3.2. I haven't really checked recently, and there could be a higher version in 3.2. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to throw this folder into my terminal, and then that way we can just we can go into, I could just go into this folder, right? But I just prefer to do things in the terminal. Alright, so let's list out, we're now into that directory, let's list it out, let's see what's in there. So we've got some useful folders. So we've got bin, conference, examples, we've got sbin. There's some really good useful stuff in here. So I'm going to take a look in bin first. So let's change directory into bin. So I'm just looking at if I also increase that size. So I just want to make the size suitable for you to see it. Okay. And then we're going to list out what's in here. So here we've got Spark Submit, which is down here. And then we've got some other useful stuff in here as well. So I'm just going to go into another terminal window, and I'm just going to do let's have a look at our bashrc. So for any of you who are trying to do Spark Submit help, to get exactly what I'm getting in my terminal, then your configuration would have to be correct in your bashrc file. So if I just output what that looks like in my terminal, you can see a load of custom configurations which I have. So from the top, starting here, sorry, just scroll up a little bit longer, a bit more. here you can see some custom settings that I've got. So in particular, this one here, Spark Home. I've got the path to my Spark Home folder, which is where you are here, and as long as you've got that configured correctly, then you can pretty much invoke Spark Submit or Spark in general anywhere, any location in your terminal. Alright, so if you have that configuration set up correctly, then you're good to go. And as you can see, I've also got PySpark, Python, and the driver locations, for the correct location for Python, and I've got some other stuff in here as well, like Scala, Maven, etc. So all within your bashrc. If you set that up correctly, then you're pretty much good. Alright, I'll just clear this. Alright, so what else is in here? I'm just going to cd back one, and then we can also look at I'll just go back into this. And I'm also going to look at sbin. So if I just change directory into sbin and list out the contents of those. So the first thing we're going to do to get started, we're going to use the UI, the Spark UI. And the UI is going to be in the browser. We're going to use localhost, and it's going to be 8080 to access that. But before we do that, we need to run start master, which is going to be this one. So you've got start master, you've got stop master, and you've got some other useful shell scripts applications in it here as well, which come as default when you install Spark. Alright, so back over here, clear this, and to start Spark Master, what we're going to do within this particular folder, I'm just going to come back one as well and list that out again. And by coming back one in this folder, I have access to anything which I need over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start the master. So I'm going to say .sbin start master, .sh, which is going to be this script here, and we're just going to run that. And here we're going to start the master. So that should stop in a sec, and that's started. Now what I can do, I can just go to a browser, and what I can do, I can go to localhost 8080, which is that one. And here you can see it's in the UI. So Spark Master is started up, and I can see it in the UI. And that tells us if we have any workers running, what Spark jobs we've got running. So you can do all of that within the UI. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start a worker node. And if I come over here, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to I can do it in this one, so I'm already in this one. So it's going to be .bin, /bin, and what I normally do when I show you how to do this, I try to write everything out rather than copying and pasting, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I could make mistakes, hopefully I don't. So it's going to be Spark class. Now, do you remember the other folder which I had shown you? So let's just go over to the other folder, and we'll just go into sbin. Oh, sorry, it's going to be, that's the wrong one. Or is it? Yeah, it's the wrong one. Let me go back one. And we're going to cd into bin. Okay. And here we go. So this is the application which I'm going to run, Spark class. So that's why I say .bin, because we're going to execute it with the dot, and it's going to be Spark class, and it's going to be org.apache dot spark dot deploy dot worker with a capital, and then what we need to do, we just need to grab this address and we just need to paste it in here. So this is going to be our server, and then we can say OK, and then it starts up. So the worker node is now going to start up, and if I just refresh that, here you can see we've got a worker node. So that's what we need to be working with. As long as you've got one of those running, you're good to go. All right, so just let that run in the background, and what we're going to do, we're just going to do some Spark jobs. But before I do, okay, my phone is going off. All right, just give me a sec here. All right, so yeah, I'm back, and I'll edit that conversation I had on the phone out, so you don't have to hear me on the phone. Right, where was I? So I was going to go into this folder, and I'm just going to go back one. So cd, and then let's list this out. And then the folder I'm going to go into is going to be examples, and I'm going to run some Spark submit examples for you. So let's just take a look at what we have. So we've got some really useful scripts in here. So cd examples, and let's take a look at that. So, oh, sorry, we need to go into src. Let's see what we've got, and then we need to go into cd main. I try to avoid, I know you see me typing out ls, right, hyphen al to list out the directory. And the reason why I do it is because I try to avoid using my arrow keys, because when I do, then I kind of jump all over the place. But let's see if because I've got really fat fingers, I think. So, all right. So here we've got some examples. We've got some Scala examples. We've got R examples, Python examples, Java examples. But the one we're going to go into is going to be Python. All right, and let's list that out. And here we've got some useful scripts. So we've got pi. I'm going to show you pi, and I'm going to show you word count. I haven't actually used the other ones. So you've got page rank in there. You've got sort. You've got a folder with some SQL. So you've got some really useful stuff in there. Some example scripts. So let's take a look at pi for a quick sec. So let's just do a cat pi. And this is a really simple script. So as you can see, they're starting a Spark session. So here you've got the import, just some Python stuff, random, sys, add. Then this is the PySpark stuff. So you've got the Spark session to start your session. As you remember in the application that we've built, this is quite similar to how we're constructing a session, building a session. And yeah, you've got a partition here, you've got a function here, and you're doing a count down here, and you're invoking that function as part of your count, and then you're printing out what the pi equation is, and then you're stopping the session. So that's a really simple script. All right, so that's the one we're going to use. So I am going to just come out of that and go back into here. So let's just copy this. All right. And so we're going to do a Spark submit. So it's going to be well, let me do it over here. So Spark submit. Oh, sorry. Then it's going to be master, and our master will be this address. And then the script we're going to run is going to be that script which I had shown you. So let's just copy this whole address here. And then it's going to be pi.py. Now, yeah, I just thought I'll do it here because I've shown you how to invoke Spark Submit anywhere. So I think it's probably best if I show you. But then I can also just do it from here as well. So yeah, and then just just put in what is the folder? The bin. Sorry, the yeah. You see my point here. Sorry. Yeah, I could have just invoked it. Sorry, the Spark Submit could have just been s.bin or bin Spark Submit, and I could just done it that way. But I'll do it this way, and I'll start it. Now what I've done, in a previous tutorial I had shown you how I got rid of all of this info stuff, so we don't really need to have it, but I've kept it, I've put it back in there. So what I did, I think I changed the version of Spark, and then I didn't change my configuration, so I'm just leaving info in there. That's why you're getting all that output to the terminal. And typically people would just leave that in the terminal anyway, when you're running on a Spark Submit. And here is the answer. Here is the result. Pi is roughly 3.1.40160. So that's what we're looking for. That's all working fine using Spark Submit. All right. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you another thing in here as well. So as you can see, if I just go back up here, if it's here still, we had word count. And I'm just going to show you a word count. Now, I'm going to start doing some more interesting stuff with Spark. I want to try and break away from sales, retail, all that kind of stuff, all that boring stuff that you do at work. So you're probably learning this stuff because you want to, do it at work, but focusing on work stuff is a bit boring, to be honest. I rather focus on interesting things. So what we're going to do, I've got a folder in here. We're going to do a word count on a text file, and pretty much what it does, it reduces all of the words and reduces them all all of the words into unique words, and does a count on them. So that's a typical way in which people might use Spark, where they want to quickly do a reduction on large amounts of data. So I'm going to show you how to do that using Spark Submit. And so I've got a folder in here where I've got some lyrics, some song lyrics or rap lyrics, and let's take a look at that. So I'm going to do an example on two of those. Sorry, just go to this folder. And just go back into here, and we've got test data, and I've got text, and in text I've got lyrics, and here I've got some rap lyrics. So you probably recognize these artists. So I've got examples of these two different artists. One is called Ramal Z, and he made a song called Beat Bop in 1982. And it's quite a long kind of song, and here you've got one which is called MF Doom or King Ghidorah. So I'll do one on King Ghidorah. And MF Doom is an artist who recently passed away in 2020, and he was pretty much a very unique artist, pretty much a lyrical genius. I don't really listen to rap very much anymore. Well, I don't really listen to it at all, to be honest. But around about sort of the 2000s, there was sort of a renaissance of underground hip hop, and people leading that were people like MF Doom, LP, and yeah, they sort of came and went, to be honest. I mean, LP is still going, but yeah, I don't really listen to rap too much, but some of the old stuff, the underground stuff, is really good, and I just thought, okay, let's just use that as a good example to do a word count, really. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, all right. So back over here and let's just clear that, and I'll show you an example. So here we're going to use word count. So word count was this one. So let's just copy that, and instead of pi, we're going to use word count. And then what we need to do, we need to also put our script in there as an argument. So I'm just going to throw that text file. So if I just open that up, it's just a plain text file, and I'm hoping there's no swear words in there as well. So I think I checked. There's no sort of profanity in there. So we're just going to do a word count on that. So let's just throw that in there. All right, and then we can just run that. And sorry for the squeaky chair as well. Alright, so here's the results, and here you can see some lyrics or some words which make up all the lyrics, and you can see some numbers beside those, and those are just the counts. So you can see a lot of ones in there, but then you can see, okay, you know, I've used, sorry, not I, but MF Doom has, you know, he said night twice. Okay, he said don't 5 times. All right, this is just really basic stuff. I just wanted to show you some examples of, you know, using word count and spark submit. So wonder 15 times, 4 times for sometimes, etc. You get the point. All right. So let's do another one, and I'm going to do Ramelzy's one. And I just thought this would be a little bit interesting, just to do a comparison between. Let's just get rid of the whole thing here. So let's just go over here, and I'm going to drop in Ramelzy's one. We'll just do that. And here's, you know, I'm just going to show you something which I find a little bit interesting by using word count. So as I said, Ramelzy's one was done in 1982, and King Ghidorah, I think that might have been, I don't know, probably around about 2010, maybe around about that year. So what I found interesting is that looking at Ramelzy's stuff was the type of words he was using, you know, for that period of time. You know, very much sort of words which were used in the early days of hip hop, and then in the more sort of recent times in hip hop, MF Doom, you know, they're using sort of like different lyrics and different wordings and, you know, words and stuff. So that's just a quick little kind of, you know, introduction into using Spark Submit, and maybe what you can do with the word count. You know, there's other interesting stuff that we can do with word count, and I will show you in a sec as well. But let's just go over to the UI. I'm just going to refresh the UI, and here you can see our jobs. So we did, the first thing that we did was Python Pi. Then we did 2 word counts. So, you know, we can go into one of these and we can take a look. You know, you just got some information on what you did, you know. So yeah, that's just a very, very quick introduction. All right, so what I'm going to do, I want to show you something else. So I'm going to do another word count, and let's just clear this. I'm going to come out of this for a sec, and all right. So in this folder, I'm going to upload this to GitHub. But what I've got some data in here. So I've got some Twitter data, and in the Twitter data, in these 2 folders, I've got a user timeline, and here we've got Donald Trump tweets. Right. So the reason why I've got Donald Trump tweets is because around about 2020, when was it 2020? No, I can't remember when it was. It was somewhere around about 2020. I think either the earliest part of it or the later part. Yeah, I think it was the earlier part, when he had been impeached, and you know, everything started getting a lot more interesting. I mean, his tweets started going a bit crazy, and I thought, wow, okay, let me start recording his tweets. So I do a lot of stuff on Twitter, and I thought, okay, let me tap into, everything Donald Trump is saying. And I wish I had done it much earlier, but it's round about his impeachment that I thought, okay, this is the time I need to start capturing it. So for a whole year up until he lost the election and then he was banned from Twitter, that's when I captured his tweets. Probably there was maybe a couple of weeks where I didn't capture it, because what I was doing, I was capturing it on a Raspberry Pi. So I've got a cluster of Raspberry Pis running, and they were all kind of grabbing data from Twitter. And I think the plug came out on one of them for a couple of weeks, and I lost about a couple of weeks worth of data. But this is really, really interesting data where we can do some analysis on his tweets, for future videos. And I'm just going to make that data available. So what I did, the reason why you've got dates here is because on my Raspberry Pi, what I'll do daily backups, and so that just signifies when, the date when I extracted that data. So it doesn't mean data for that one day, it's just the date where I extract the backup of that data. And then so you've got two of them in here. The other one is 2020, 12, 19. So this is just, I think, when he had been banned from Twitter, and then that's when I did the final dump of his data. So you've got them there. All right. So what I'm going to do, I need to create a text file of that data, and this data right now exists as a JSON file. So this is a complete JSON dump of all of his tweets. So you'd have a long line. I won't open this up because it'll be fairly big, and it might kind of crash virtual machine if I try to open that up. Well, what I could do, let's just do a quick. That's 11 megabytes, and the other one was so. All right, so let me, what I'll do, I'll just quickly open it up. I'll do a cat instead of trying to open it up in the text file, because that would definitely crash, I think. So let's just do it here. Just throw it in. So that way you can kind of see what's there. So it's fairly big. When you do a data dump of data, you get loads of fields in JSON format. So you've got ID, you've got created at, all the other stuff in there as well. But there's only going to be two fields which I'm going to take from this. This is going to be the date, and it's going to be full text. So the full text is all of the text which he tweets in a text, and then the date is obviously what date. So I take date because I want to sort it, but I'm not going to export date into the final text file because I just want the text. I just want to do a word count on the text. So I'm just sort of like explaining how I'm going about stuff and stuff like that. All right, so let's just clear that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to, what I just shown you, that JSON file and the JSON objects, I need to extract what I need and flatten it into a text file. Now I've already created some tests, some unit tests to do that. And like I said, I'm going to keep this tutorial really short, and later I can explain the unit tests which I'd written, go through that step by step, exactly how I extracted that text and flattened it. So, but for now, I'm just going to run that, create the text file, and we'll do the word count on the text file. All right. So in this folder, I'm just going to go to my unit tests. So Spark, and I've got my tests down here. So I've got one which is to create a table and load a table. Now I'm just going to dump that in there, and I will sort of just quickly open it up. I'll open it up for you. So within this, I've just created a setup. So I've got a setup here, and I'm just locating Donald Trump JSON object tweets, and then over here I've got the teardown where I stop Spark, and then I create delete a table which I've not activated, and then at the bottom I'm just creating a table. Right, I'm not going to go into this too much, just quickly explain it, and I'm going to, in a later tutorial, we'll create this. I'll do this step by step. Okay, so I'll just get rid of that for a sec. Alright, so let's run that. So just do a Python 3, because we're going to use the Python 3 interpreter. And then the location where it's going to create a table is going to be in test delta. So right now I've just got sales, what we did before, and I expect to see one for Twitter, and then a folder for Donald Trump. Okay, so I'm just going to run that, and it's doing all the Spark stuff, and it's going to do some Delta stuff, and it's going to create one there. So let's just let that run. And what I've done, I've actually, that script, which is running right now, the unit test one, it's actually taking the data from both of those dumps. So you can see I had dates for 2 dumps, and it's taking data from both of those dumps. So we've got the whole, all of the tweets from Donald Trump. Alright, so here we've got Twitter, real Donald Trump, and then user timeline, and then we've got all of the Parquet or Delta table, or the Delta table, which are Parquet separated files or individual files. And yeah, this is pretty much our data. So I'm going to run another script, which is going to be, just go over to my unit tests, and it's going to be this one, load the table. So first I create a table, then I'm going to load the table. But it's not just going to load a table, it's taking the data from the Delta table, and it's going to write a file. And like I said, in later tutorials I'll show you exactly how I did this. So Python 3, and then what it's going to do in this location, test data in text, it's going to create a folder in there, a text file in there. Alright, so let that run. Okay, so that's now run, and here you can see it's created a folder. Now it doesn't just create like a normal text file; it puts it into a directory first, and then here you can see here. So it's got this weird kind of file name, but it is a text file. So if I just expand that, then you can see text, and then I can open that up. So what it's done, it's given me all of it's extracted all of those all of those values from the field full text, which is provided by Twitter, which comes from the Twitter JSON object or JSON file, which is each row text is a object, JSON object. All right, so as you can see, there's quite a few rows here. So you've got one all the way down to 14,000, and some of these were retweets. So as you can see here, where it's just a URL, that was a retweet. And then all of the other juicy stuff is over here. So yeah, we can do some interesting sort of analysis on his tweets. So instead of being boring and doing stuff on numbers, and let's just make it a little bit more interesting, shall we? All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just dump that text file into here, and let's clear this. And let's get rid of that, and we're just going to dump that in there. And we can run that. It's not going to be that interesting, and I'll show you why it won't be that interesting. Because, well, I'll explain it as it's running. Because there's going to be a load. There's going to be a load of words that we don't care about, like the, at, do, don't, what, you know, if, how. All of those sort of like words that we use are going to be included. So we're going to have to filter those out, and we'll do that another day. But right now, I'm just showing you an example, and you know, here's a word count, and you know, let's see what's there. So really what I want to do, I should have done, is modified the script a little bit further, so that way we can sort by count, and we want to get the highest count at the top, so that way we can see the words which he uses the most. But let's just locate one with some higher numbers. Yeah, so this is a good way to see how a person thinks. So as you can see, some of the words that are used, some of the people's names that are being referred to, you know, it gives you a good kind of insight into the mood and thoughts of someone which is posting stuff on Twitter. And I just thought Donald Trump's tweets would be very good for analysis. So yeah, just going through some of this. I mean, there's some high accounts in here. Just go up to the top a bit more. But yeah, we can do a sort. But this is just like a very quick example. All right. What else do I need to show you? Okay. So yeah, I think I'll end it here. That's all I really needed to show you. And then when we build I will show you how to do this on a cluster. And when we do it on a cluster, I'm not going to do it on AWS. I'm not going to do it on Azure, and neither will I do it on Google Cloud, because that costs money. We're going to build our own cluster using our Raspberry Pis. And if I go to my YouTube channel, just go to YouTube quickly. And then if I just put in my channel, which is Data Lab. I'll just quickly look for that. Okay, it's there. And let's go to videos. So, how to build a cluster using Raspberry Pis. So what I've done, I've done some videos, which were last year over here. That's me building the physical cluster. And then you've got formatting the SD card and USB or USB drive, and then you've got you know, installing Kali Linux, and I recommend Kali Linux for the Raspberry Pi because it just really works. It works really well, as opposed to using sort of Ubuntu or anything else. Like Kali Linux works really well. And then you can SSH into it as well. So the next bit I'll do when we do our Spark cluster is show you how to do the configurations for a Spark cluster. So yeah, that kind of concludes it. And yeah, so yeah, sorry it's been a while since I've made a tutorial, but I've been doing a lot of stuff, and it's all tutorial based, and there's quite a few projects which I've been working on. And another one which I've been working on is Selenium. And you know, early on I did some Selenium tutorials down here, and then I stopped. I didn't stop, I just kind of went on to other things, but I've come back to Selenium and I've built like a really good application for it. And when we get further into Selenium, we can do some really good kind of data gathering, harvesting data from places, and then we can, you know, inject that into Spark. So yeah, we can do some really good stuff there. So yeah. All right, guys, thank you very much. Cheers. Later.